Hi, thanks everyone for tuning into Brew Co's brewer interview series with Mikey Manning of Marz Community Brewing. I'm Dariusz of Brew Co, and I'll let Mikey introduce himself a little bit, the beers that we'll be sampling together, and then get into a few questions about his time as a brewer, Marz Community Brewing, and the stories that his beers tell. So, Mikey, thanks so much for taking the time to sample and talk a beer with me today.
Oh, it's my pleasure. I'm Mikey. I've been the head brewer at Marz for actually only about since like last November, so just coming up on a year. I'm actually from St. Louis, Missouri,
Hmm.
so I've only been up here since last March. Worked at Marz for a little bit, like 7 months, I guess,
Mhm.
8 months before I took over as head brewer, and yeah, so it's been a crazy, fun run since taking over the lead position there.
I'm sure that's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, what beers are we going to be drinking today?
Today I brought some of our core beers and then some of our newer things. We got Jungle Boogie, which is a pale wheat ale.
Hmm.
We have Chug Life, which is our sparkling lager. It's our play on a kind of a macro lager.
Hmm.
And then Orange Velour, which is a Belgian style wit beer. And then we have, what was the other one? Passion Freak, which is a golden sour ale.
Wonderful. Which one do you want to start with?
Let's start with Jungle Boogie. I mean, I think that's the one people know us the most for.
All
So
right, guys. So here's Jungle Boogie. Got the label out for you. All right.
cheers.
Cheers. Nice to meet you. And thanks so much for doing this.
Hmm. Again, my pleasure. So yeah, this beer is kind of unique and kind of stands out amongst other Marz beers, specifically for the rooibos tea that we use.
Hmm.
So this was a recipe that was written before my time, back when. So for people who don't know, Marz kind of started off back in 2013 as a really on a small pilot system.
Yeah.
I think like 6 barrels, and this was just a group of guys, and I think there's a few girls there too, and they were just kind of collaborating, having fun. It was kind of a mix of home brewers that were kind of scaling up recipes and doing that thing. So this recipe comes from a guy who is still in the company. Actually, he's kind of like what we like to call our tea monger.
Hmm.
So he kind of makes these custom blends of tea and for other beers that we use. But this is a blend of green rooibos tea. So this tea has like a lot of like mango, peachy, super tropical notes, but kind of
Yeah,
also lends
absolutely.
this like in a way a stringent bitterness to it that kind of helps, add a nice little element to it. But yeah, so you get a lot of mango, peach, like super tropical, and then we dry hop it in the boil and whirlpool with mosaic as well.
That's awesome. Yeah, I've always really liked Jungle Boogie.
Yeah.
Whenever I'm down at the tap room, I usually at least one of my pints is Jungle Boogie. You
Yeah,
guys have always been super consistent with it. It's always just really nice, and I think you hit it on the head there. There's that kind of underlying bitterness that really carries it through.
for
I
sure.
think I think today a lot of stuff is just so very bang citrusy or like bang pineapple or things like
Oh,
that, and it just sticks around a little bit too much. So
trust me, we make a lot of hazy beers. So
no,
it's not my
and
favorite
that's awesome
style,
too.
and I like those beers. But yeah, it is nice to differentiate from those type of beers.
Absolutely. Okay, cool. So you said you moved up here about since, or
Last
sorry,
March.
last March.
Yeah,
So did you move up here for Marz Brewing
I
or?
did. So I was actually at a brewery called Second Shift Brewing.
Oh, okay.
They distribute up here, so like some of their beers are around like Beer Temple and places like that. So yeah, I worked there for about 4 or 5 years, and then I met the old head brewer of Mars, Tim, down there through beer festivals and mutual friends. And
Hmm.
then me and my wife are kind of looking for a change of pace, and I kind of wanted to grow more as a brewer. And I living in St. Louis my whole life, I was like, oh, I kind of want to live in a big city,
Yeah.
get like a different taste of something. So the opportunity came for a job there, and I decided to take it and see what happened. And yeah, I mean, it was crazy how quickly my buddy Tim ended up having opportunities working on his own brewery, but obviously with COVID and everything, things have been delayed. But so
Yeah.
he actually left and I took over his position. So he kind of like hired me and brought me on as his own replacement. But yeah, like I love Chicago. It's so different and so unique and so diverse. Like
I'm
St. Louis is
sure.
great. It's just so small, but like everything I loved about St. Louis had like one or two cool things of that, and like Chicago has like 10 to 20 of those things. So
Well, I'm
it's
glad you're
pretty
liking
great.
it up here, and
Uh,
I'm glad that you're clearly doing really well with Marz, and you're
yeah, thank
putting out
you.
some just banging beers.
We're trying. We're
I
trying.
love everything you guys do.
Yeah, thank
Um,
you.
so just some kind of fun notes. Do you remember what your first beer was? Um, One of the questions that we typically like to
Yeah.
ask because I try and think about it too, and I actually think it was a Bud Select.
Oh man,
So,
it's so funny you say that because like I was watching the Temperance interview and I was like, man, I wish I had like a cool like I grew up drinking beer like part of the culture, but like living in St. Louis, obviously Anheuser-Busch headquarters are there. So
mhm.
like my parents growing up, all Bud Light, Bud Select, Budweiser, and Busch. So like my first beer, unfortunately, I think I was like 13. My parents just had a family party and everybody had went to bed and there was like a bunch of coolers left out on the deck. So I was like, I'm gonna go try a beer. So I remember cracking open like a Bud Light and being like, "This is the most disgusting thing I've ever tasted," and it actually kept me away from beer for like quite a while until I got to like probably like 17 or 18. I'm one of 7 kids, so I come from a
Mhm.
big family, and my older brothers had started drinking craft beer. Like Schlafly was like it's a big St. Louis brewery. I don't know if you've ever had it,
Yeah,
but
I've heard of them. I haven't had it though.
yeah, they're kind of like the original. They're a pretty big craft brewery now, but like the original St. Louis craft brewery. But I remember
Gotcha.
having like an oatmeal stout and an IPA, and being like my mind just being like blown at like what is these flavors? Like I don't know if I necessarily liked them at first because like a lot of them were like bitter and like
Yeah,
super hot for, and I'm like I don't know if I like this. But then out of like repetition, my brothers just keep giving me beer. They're like you'll eventually like this, and that's kind of like what drew me into the liking the finer beers of life.
sure, of course. And so, did you ever think that you were going to end up in the industry then, or when did you really think that you wanted to start, pursuing beer as a career?
Honestly, I never even like thought about it. Like, so I went to St. Louis University. I got a degree in sociology and criminal justice.
Hmm.
I ended up getting a job at a nonprofit for a while, and I was bartending on the side, just like making money to pay my student loans. But my brother Tommy, he had started a job at Perennial Brewing
Hmm.
in St. Louis, and then he now works at Side Project Brewing. But he kind of got me into home brewing a little bit, like before he started working at a brewery. Then he became a brewer, and I was like, "Whoa, that's kind of cool." I guess that's not something I ever thought of, but I just kept doing my nonprofit thing. And then I was at a beer festival, and he introduced me to Second Shift, Stephen Libby, and
Hmm.
he was like, "Hey, they're looking for an intern," and they liked my brother, so I was like, "Yeah, I'll give it a shot." So I
For
pretty much
sure.
was just like washing kegs and labeling bottles, and then like all of a sudden it was like I was like, "Yeah, maybe this is just like something that could turn into something," but I wasn't getting my hopes up. And then all of a sudden, like similar to Marz, like 6 or 7 months later, their brewer had to leave. They only had one brewer. We were brewing on a farm down in like the country of Missouri.
Hmm.
So I was driving an hour each way, and I was like, "They're like, do you want to be a brewer like professionally?" And I was like, "Yeah, that sounds awesome." So the rest is kind of history. I kind of went from like being not even realizing that it was possible to being
Hmm.
like something that I now love, and I'm so grateful that I ended up in a position where I could make beer and like work with my hands for a living. I'm just not a type of person. I know there are people who can do it. I just can't sit at a desk all day.
I got you.
So like moving around, working with my hands, making beer, it's just like it's a great job.
Living the dream, of course. That's
Yeah,
awesome.
for
Um,
sure.
yeah, that's funny that you say that you were a sociology major.
Hmm.
I was actually an anthropologist
Oh,
major,
nice. Not,
so
I took some anthropology classes for sure.
I took some sociology
No,
classes.
of course it's
they're they're kind of similar, but also incredibly distinct. So,
yeah, absolutely. There's
um,
a very minor crossover there, but they do cross over at some points.
yeah. Um, so unfortunately, my co-founder for Brew Co was not able to join today. But one of the
Yeah,
questions he wanted to ask you
sure.
was, if you were stuck with one beer for the rest of your life, what would that one be? If you can, maybe at this moment. I know that it changes for me pretty often, but
Yeah, like I definitely go back and forth, but if anyone follows me on social media, like in St. Louis, we weren't able to get Allagash beer, and
mhm,
Allagash White. I don't know why it is my perfect beer. Like for like just any occasion. Like it's not something that's so hoppy or high ABV or like a super sour funky beer, which I
mhm,
love all those too. But it's like a beer that if I can drink every day, it's Allagash White. It's just
yeah,
like relatively low ABV, smooth, creamy, very approachable, nice
yeah,
citrus, and like the yeast profile is nice, so it has a nice Belgian character. I don't know, something about that just like speaks to me, and it's just like so nice. And like I think also not having it in St. Louis when I moved to Chicago, I was like buying 12 packs of it all
oh,
the
of
time. I was
course,
like, this is great. I was like, now that I have access to it, it's like it's a staple in my fridge
mhm.
now. So
It's
Allagash
like,
White for sure.
yeah, no, that's awesome. I feel like that kind of like artificial scarcity is always always like makes a beer that much better. I remember when
For
everyone was
sure.
obsessed with zombie dust for a little
Oh
bit, and
my
it's because they
God.
had it artificially constrained. And then, I mean, I'll even play into this too sometimes. Like if someone's like, "Hey, I got a heady topper," I'll be like, "I am
Oh,
coming over." So
absolutely. I mean, being from St. Louis, we would drive to Indiana to go get zombie dust. Or if anybody we knew that was going out that way, we're like, please stop. I will give you money. Go get a case of zombie dust. And like, we just went crazy over that. We thought it was, and it still is a fantastic beer, but it was just
yeah,
like, this is the cream of the crop beer for me.
yeah, yeah,
So I definitely understand the duster trend.
yeah, um, yeah. So that got some nice backstory about how you got into the industry, and it's a really cool story. I think that it's so fun that it kind of moved so quickly a few times for you.
For
But I feel
sure.
like I've spoken to people in the beverage industry, and there are two ways it goes. You either went to like Sybil Institute and
Oh man.
you take forever to get through these classes, and then you work your way up, or you just go from 0 to 100. I think, but
Right. It was like it's either like you're educated and learn, and you can definitely be educated if you're the right person teaching you. I was very fortunate to have someone, Steve Kreider at Second Shift, who just like drilled me. Like I
yeah.
was like brewing 2 turns a day by myself on this like super manual 8.5 barrel
Hmm.
system. And then like when we moved, so like I said, Second Shift was in the country, like an hour outside of St. Louis. So eventually they started looking for a location in St. Louis to reach more of the customer base. So like when Steve and his wife Libby, the two owners, would be looking for a place, I would be down there by myself, like brewing, like just
Brewing on
like
the farm.
on the farm, like just all day, like 13 hours a day, and then driving an hour each way. I'd pretty much like come home, eat dinner, go to sleep, wake up at 5 a.m. and head back down. Like, so I think I kind of got put through a crash course, which
Yeah.
it helped me. But like, I mean, obviously people who go to Siebel are very talented. You have people like
No, of course, of
the guys
course.
over at Dovetail, and it's like those beers are unbelievable.
Insane.
Like honestly, probably my favorite. They are my favorite in the city. Like their beers are just incredible. So like it definitely can, you can make it work either way for
Mhm.
sure. You don't have to get that education, but if you have the opportunity, of course it's nice. Like
Yeah,
go for it. If you have the time and the money and the resources, do it. But don't let not going to that keep you out of the industry.
for sure. Um, okay, yeah. So I want to kind of switch gears here
Sure.
and talk about. So you said that you did a little bit of home brewing in the past.
Yes.
I'm assuming you don't anymore because it's just your 9 to 5 anyway.
Yeah, not so much, but I want to get back into
Okay.
it.
What do you think was one of the more interesting brews that you came up with homebrew? So as a little bit of context, my co-founder, he does like the crazier brew stuff,
For
and I
sure.
try and stay color within the lines is the way I
Yeah,
like to
of
describe it.
course. Yeah, yeah.
Um, so he's the one making all the crazy tinctures and all this kind of stuff. I recently tried to, or sorry, about a number of months ago, before COVID,
Yeah.
actually had a really nice piwo grodzickie recipe because it was
Oh,
just
nice.
just old Polish recipe was something I really
Of
wanted to do.
course.
So, have you ever, what do you think some of your crazier things have been when you did homebrew a little bit? Or was there a particular style that you thought you were definitely going to try and like get right or get weird with?
So I don't know. I'm more like you. I kept, honestly, when I was homebrewing, I kept mostly to traditional beers,
Hmm.
pale ales, IPAs, like English beers and things like
Yeah.
that, and a lot of even like Belgian IPAs. But one crazy beer we tried to make and epically failed at. Me and my brother tried to make a blueberry Flanders beer, and it ended up just being like the most like vinegar
Yep.
tasting, like rotten beer ever. But so like that would probably be the most craziest. We used this like a bunch of fresh fruit in this small little barrel we got that was repurposed. So we had no idea what we were doing at the
Sure.
time, but like because we like all we knew that was like beer was sour. We want
Yeah.
sour beer. Like that was just a thing that I was chasing at the time. Like
Yeah.
kind of like going into like early on in my craft beer days. So I was like, let's make one, and then we tried to make one, and we ended up just pretty
Yeah.
much using it as cooking vinegar after that.
Yeah. Definitely. Um, all right. So let's hop onto another beer
Yeah,
just to kind of get through these and see. Yeah. So which one do you want
let's
to talk about
let's
next?
let's do orange velour. So with this one, I like to flip the can upside down to kind of rouse the yeast in there,
Okay.
just like kind of Belgian wood style. Yeah, just kind of mix it up and get it mixed back into the body because it kind of wants to settle out in the bottom.
I love that it has the stuff upside down so that it encourages
Yeah,
the flip.
it kind of like gets people to read it, and then maybe they'll catch it. But I
All right,
don't think everybody's
cheers.
catch it. Cheers.
Yeah, this is wonderful.
So yeah, this was my attempt to get close to that Allagash White. It's not a. It's. I mean, this beer actually sold a lot, but like for the most part, these aren't beers that a lot of people are buying
Mhm.
unless you're like kind of in the beer world and you know that you like that. But it's just super nice. It's super, again, like Allagash White. Like it has fresh ground Indian coriander from Spice House here
Mhm.
in Chicago.
Yep.
Really, really good stuff. So and then this like really nice citrusy note that also backs up like we use like I think 10 pounds of organic orange wheels,
Mhm.
dehydrated organic orange wheels, sorry, in the whirlpool. So it just brings like a really nice orangey, citrusy flavor, and it's super creamy because of all the wheat. It's
Yeah.
just like these are just the beers that I don't know. They make my heart jump.
For me, these are like the beers that summer are made of.
Absolutely.
Yeah, like
So like I live really close to Winnemac Park, and like my thing is like on the weekend, get off work, head over there safely away from other people, of course, and just
yeah,
sit in the park and drink a couple of these in the summer, in like the Chicago summer.
yeah.
It's just like you can't beat it.
This is wonderful. Yeah, I was having this on my porch last night.
Nice.
We got back from we went out to dinner.
Cool.
Again, socially distanced and safe, but
Of course.
came back and we were like, man, I just really want to drink one of those beers for the interview. So
Yeah, you gotta do a little preview, I guess.
it was research. Please
Yeah,
understand.
yeah. I mean, for the greater good.
Of course. So okay, so yeah, so this was you wanted to kind of do an attempt for Allagash or something similar to
Yeah,
Allagash White, kind of in that, um, how you said that this is the kind of beer that not a lot of people are buying a lot. So what would you say, or sorry, not that they aren't buying it a lot, but it's not
right,
as popular as other items,
for
is the way I'll
sure.
phrase that. So what would you say is probably the most purchased beer at Marz?
For us, I mean, Jungle Boogie's like obviously our
Mhm.
flagship, so that sells quite a bit, and
Yeah.
like the label art definitely helps sell it as well. It's just a very beautiful can, and it
Yes.
screams summertime, tropical, whatever. But I think for us, obviously, like the hazies get a lot of love, and then like also we've been doing a lot of these like very fruit forward beers, which again, like I like to drink them. They're not my favorite styles. I'm not like crazy about them, but I can appreciate them in the right
Sure.
setting. So yeah, definitely the hazy pale ales are still kind of dominating the game a little bit, but like obviously like everyone's kind of getting to that game. So like
Yeah.
it's kind of like spreading thin across everybody now, which is it's nice. Like you have Hot Butcher who is just killing it at that game right now.
Mhm.
Like their beers are fantastic, but like that just the hazy beers are just kind of like I think it's that no bitterness, super fruity, tropical
Yeah.
without the fruit that people really enjoy, and I enjoy them from time to time too.
No, same here. I've got no animosity toward them at
Yeah,
all.
and I think I'm kind of like an old person. Like the older I get, the more bitter I like things.
Yeah.
It's like
Oh,
I kind
yeah.
of want not just the sweetness. I used to be a huge sweet tooth, and I'm moving towards like a balanced or
Hmm.
more bitter forward thing. So
Yeah, I've actually found that as I'm getting older, I'm starting to get into more and more like dad lagers, where I'm
yeah,
like, yeah, I just want to
absolutely.
sit back with it. So,
Yeah, just got done cutting the grass. Leave me alone. I'm gonna drink a lager.
um, yeah, okay.
So
So,
yeah.
um, you know, I desperately miss your tap room.
Oh
I love your Iron Street tap room.
yeah,
But I know that eventually we'll be able to go back, and I can't wait. But
for
it's
sure.
safe, obviously. I know that there was a Logan Square
Yeah,
house
it's
that was going to be
over.
opening up.
Yeah, it's over by Margie's Candies.
Hmm.
So it's like if you like round that corner, I can't remember the street there. I think
It's like
West.
Western and Milwaukee, I
Yeah,
think.
Western and Milwaukee, right there by that Walgreens. And like, so if you walk around the corner to Margie's Candies, they're building it out right now. We're gonna try to launch it for just like to go sales, obviously for like people in that neighborhood, because like our location is obviously very south, so it's more like people want to come out on the weekends because
Hmm.
it's just like not super accessible, but it's still quite out there. But this will allow us eventually to have a tasting room and also a pilot brew system just to kind of make some fun pub beers on. But
Yeah.
for the meantime, they're building it out. I'm not exactly sure when it's going to open. I think maybe in the fall,
Hmm.
hopefully. If I mean, it's construction, there's always something that's going to go wrong or something else that needs to happen. But yeah, they're trying to launch that so we can reach more people in that area who don't have to travel so far south. But I mean, you can still take advantage of our delivery systems. We pretty much deliver everywhere in Chicago.
Hmm.
But this will just allow us to reach more of that, like kind of a younger customer base that's just in those areas.
For sure. Or
So,
yeah, no, definitely. I get that.
yeah, and it just makes it more approachable so that you don't have to travel 10 miles south on the red line and then bus over, if it's just easier. We're just trying to get our beer into more people's hands.
Yeah, for sure. Um, were you at the New Year's celebration this past year?
I was there. That was quite a wild one.
I was gonna say my girlfriend and a couple of our friends did New Year's there,
Nice.
and we were just blown away. We got
I
a table. It was so much fun.
I was
Um,
blown away. And I like kind of knew what was happening, but I was just like there were still things there that just took me for a surprise. I mean, I
the
don't know if you've ever met Ed, the owner at Marz.
Yes, I've met Ed before.
So, I mean, everybody knows Ed. He's just a wild adult child, essentially. Um, but yeah, he just likes to have crazy parties and crazy things. I know you had mentioned you got your haircut in the tasting room. I had
Yeah,
also done that. It's just like there's just random, wacky, weird concoctions that come up in his head, and he just spews them
and
into
you
the
go get it done.
event. You just get it done.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of what that specific event was, but
That was for, I think, the local Haze Lord event or something like that. I think there was a
probably there
hazy beer festival or something like that.
yeah, there was. I remember I had to buy a bunch of tokens, I think.
Yeah,
So
that's how they
yeah,
did it. Yeah, and they're like cutting in the arcade here in the corner of the arcade.
yeah,
But it's cool.
it was,
It kind of falls under that community thing though, which we haven't really gotten to, but I'm sure we'll get into later. But it's just
yeah.
like we just like to work with anyone who's interested in art, music,
Mhm.
whatever. We want to work with you if you got something cool and interesting and
Yeah.
different.
No, absolutely, and that is a great segue. I was going to ask, what is the community aspect of Mars Community Brewing?
Yeah, so like I said, it's just like I guess this is before, but I mean they decided this before I even worked there, but it's always just been about I know a lot of art specifically, but like
Mhm.
music, beverage, like we've worked with a lot of local chefs as well. It's literally like we just want to make a difference in the community for the better and bring all like Chicago is just so full of talent, like
Mhm.
literally like in every aspect, like music, like I just keep repeating myself, but music,
Sure, no.
food, beverage, whatever. If you have something interesting to bring, we want to listen to you. We want to get your message out there, or like get your help put your ideas into the community. Like it's just cool to get everyone recognition. Like we have a platform that we're able to do it, so we want to help you do that. Essentially, it's not just about ourselves; it's about just making a difference for
No,
everybody
sure.
else.
And that's awesome.
Yeah,
And so is that part of the kind of relationship with Maria's, the Co-Prosperity Center, and Lumpen Radio?
exactly. So like those are all like fall under like Ed's like bubble, the Marz bubble.
Hmm.
And we also now have the community kitchen, which is running out of our kitchen at Marz and then Maria's and I think one other place, but they're making meals
Hmm.
for people, anyone who needs them. Like if you were just like, if you fell on your ass and didn't have a job or whatever, and you're like, I need a meal for free, no questions asked, just show up to Maria's, you'll get a meal.
That's awesome.
Yeah, no questions asked. So it's a great thing that they're doing. It's local chefs from Moms and other places around there, like Mom Chicago. They do a lot of cool food.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, so it's just people coming together, man. Honestly, we just want to help, and if we have the resources and we're not using our kitchen right now, it's like a
Hmm.
no-brainer. Like come in, we're not going to charge you anything. Just make food for people,
Yeah.
no problem.
No, that's wonderful. And that's like, it's always so good to see. I feel like this is pretty typical of Chicago breweries, and it may be typical of breweries elsewhere as
For
well.
sure.
But just that reinvestment in the community, um, and there's competition between breweries and stuff here, but I see more collaboration with Chicago breweries than
Yeah,
competition. So
like Chicago, I'm still obviously new to the Chicago beer scene. I know for St. Louis, it's so small that like everybody knows each other. You
mhm,
know everything about it. You all drink each other's beers. It is,
mhm,
and I've been noticing about Chicago too. Like you said, it is very much just like it's not like one versus one. Like yeah, we are all selling beer against each other, but no one's like really against each other. Like
mhm,
outside of work, I drink Mars beer, but like I still support like Off Color and Dovetail, especially Dovetail. I keep going back to Dovetail, but god damn, their beers are so good.
Yeah.
So like like just that. It's like you don't have to like, I don't know, shit on other breweries because you don't
No, of
work there or
course not.
whatever, or competition. And yeah, I'm not saying that you said that, but it's just like some people get so aggressive, like these people's beers are like blah 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 blah. I'm like, just they're making beer that people like to enjoy. So like if someone's enjoying it, like let them be. Who cares?
Yeah.
Like they're not hurting you. Like leave them
Absolutely.
alone. So yeah, it's definitely more camaraderie. Like we've needed ingredients from other breweries, and like there's a huge can shortage going on right now. And
Yeah.
Revolution has been our biggest like saving grace. They've been giving us we've been buying like extra cans and can lids for them so we can keep packaging beer. Like it's just crazy because I think like Coca-Cola ended up buying like a ton right before COVID hit because they knew that there'd be aluminum shortage. So
Yeah.
Revolution has been a big save. So if anyone from Revolution is watching this, thank you.
Absolutely. All right, let's I know that I'm not trying to rush us through
Oh
these
no,
beers,
no, you're
but
good. Absolutely. We gotta get
which
through
one should
them.
we do next?
Let's do Chug Life. Why not?
Chug Life.
The High Life mimic.
Yeah, but I'm a big fan. Cheers.
Cheers. So yeah, this is a corn lager that we make. Pretty simple. It's Pilsner, corn, a touch of caramel Pilsner, just for a little sweetness. You can get a little sweetness from the corn too, but it actually finishes pretty dry at like 2 Play-Doh. So it kind of has that nice crispiness and cleanness, but it's just it's kind of like just a no frills beer. You're not gonna get, and there's a little bit of Centennial and sauce. You get like just a slight honey spice, like hot, like I don't know, spiciness, I guess. But it's not anything crazy. It's just, this is the beer that you would drink like when you're like tired and you're like, leave me alone. I want to just like be by myself.
This is the dad lager. Big fan of it.
Yeah, this is the dad lager. So yeah, I enjoy this beer quite a bit. We've been also working on some new lagers at Marz. We have a Czech Pils in the tank right now.
Cool.
Brewing up a Marz on Monday. So we're kind of, although we do make a lot of crazy weird beer, like with the wit and then these new lagers, we're kind of like also trying to put out some more traditional style beers as well.
For sure. Definitely understand that. So I know that Omega Yeast in Chicago,
Yes.
they just came out with this new strain of Norwegian yeast that is, I think they call it Lutra.
Ah, you mean this one?
That would be the one. I didn't even see that.
Yeah, it's kind of cut off, but yeah, Lutra, yeah.
Okay, so have you used it yet? Because
I haven't used it yet. I'm definitely interested in this like pseudo lager, like
pseudo lager at 90 degrees Fahrenheit.
yeah, it always sounds super intimidating, but like I've used the other like Kvike strains or whatever, and they work well with like super, like we use the Hornadol a lot, and it's just like it is what it is, fermented at 90, pineapple, nothing off flavor about it. Like it works, man. I trust those guys with my life. Like we use them for probably like 90% of our yeast.
That's awesome. Yeah. I remember they had their main microbiologist come in and speak at Gnome Brew, which is a home brewing shop up in, I think it's Ravenswood, but it's on Damon and Montrose.
Okay, that's really close to me.
Yeah. Just a little home brewing shop that I know those guys and they're awesome. And they had just someone came in and gave that talk from Omega, and it was so interesting. But yeah, they do some good bottle shares and stuff too. Obviously,
a lot of good stuff.
Not with COVID, but
no. But yeah, I think they also just opened up. Well, I don't really know if it's open, but their new building over on Montrose just got built out. It's a huge brewery, and I think they're actually going to start. I don't know if they're going to sell beer, like, because really they were making wort and just dumping it essentially just to keep their yeast alive. But I think now they're actually going to start like maybe producing a little bit of beer, which is really cool and should be interesting because they come out with new interesting strains and are doing something crazy and different all the time. So it's been really beneficial here to be in Chicago, to have them here and like be able to talk to them and, you know, do whatever. But yeah, they know what they're doing over there and they're doing a great job and we really appreciate them.
For sure. All right. So let's see. I'm sorry.
No, you're good.
So So yeah, we've mentioned obviously COVID a couple of times. There's a reason why we're
Yeah,
doing this interview virtually.
for sure.
What is kind of the best way to so firstly, hoping that Marz has been doing well during it.
Yeah,
I know it's been hard for everyone.
for sure.
But what are kind of the best ways for your fans, the beer community, to support all of you during this time and help you give back as you give back to everyone else?
For sure. So there's a couple of ways. The first is if you want Mars beer, we will deliver it to your house. You can go on our website. There's a virtual cooler, has all of our beer and also our CBD beverages, which we make a lot of, like non-alcoholics if you're not into alcohol, like, or if like you want beer or your partner or a friend or whatever doesn't want alcohol, you can get that too. We sell CBD sodas, shrub sodas, whatever. So that's a good way to help us. And that also some of that money does, like if you tip on it, I think some of it, or not some of it, all that goes into a pool and then we distribute that amongst our employees that have been furloughed in the tasting room, because we're out of there's like 30 people in the tasting room who are out of a job right now, unfortunately. Yeah. And now with like the unemployment benefits getting cut, it's just like, it's quickly turning into a nightmare.
Yeah.
But other ways, we do, like every Sunday right now, are doing this community pop-up market, which is a great way to support us, but also a great way to support other people too. We have like a couple of restaurants, farms, like plant people. You make an RSVP on our website. Okay. It's every Sunday. It's a market. It's socially distanced. So there's only one person at a stall at a time, and you can buy, local produce from farms. You can buy local meats and cheeses made by those types of artisans. And like, there's just a bunch of cool stuff available for you. And then I don't know if it's been on Saturday or Sundays, but they also do some small tastings, I believe, where you could buy some Marz beer, taste it, and you even take some 4-packs home. So those are kind of like the biggest ways right now. And then also donating to the community kitchen. It's not a profit from Marz or anything, but it's just a cool, I love it. I'm just like, coming from the nonprofit background, I'm all about helping people. And like, that's just like always going to be my thing. So yeah, definitely donate, do whatever, bring food, just get the word out, tell people who you might know who might need those resources. Like,
for sure,
we want to help you. So
oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay. So like the other ones I haven't had the full chance to finish, but I'm quickly approaching this. So well done.
Yeah, it's kind of like a 3 to 4 drinker almost.
Yeah. So you said that this had quite a bit of corn in it, which reminds me of a fun story so I worked in a homebrew shop for a little bit. And there was always, like once every 2 months or so, this one guy would come in, buy 250-pound bags of rolled corn and a pack of turbo yeast.
Oh, good God.
And I was always just like, listen, man, I need to remind you that it's still technically illegal to distill in the United States.
Right. Like, what's going on over there?
And every time he'll just be like, no. I'm doing corn beer. And I'm like, okay, man.
You're like, just corn? Nothing else?
So, have you ever had any experience with distilling, or is that something that Marz is particularly interested at any point?
No. I mean, Ed is always interested in every type of crazy, unique beverage. Yeah. We've been kind of working on something with CH, the people who make Malort, possibly making a Malort cocktail. Our NA head brewer, Joe Guzzo, he's been kind of talking to them about a potential setup of making some sort of canned cocktail.
Cool.
So that could be, maybe there's a Malort grapefruit cocktail coming out in the future. Maybe there's not. I can't make any promises, but there could be.
You heard it here first.
Could be something in the works. I'm not going to make any promises. Who knows? But we're always trying to do something crazy. I don't think we'll ever actually distill like Maplewood does or anything like that. But
sure,
I would love to. But just the setup and money constraints during COVID, it's just our biggest focus right now is probably getting that north side location open.
Gotcha. Absolutely.
But I love spirits. I would definitely love to get into it.
For sure.
And
all right. How about we crack open that last beer, if that's all right?
Let's get to it. Yeah. So this is Passion Freak, a golden sour ale with passion fruit. So kind of my inspiration on this beer was a couple summers ago, maybe 3. I went to McKellar Beer Celebration over in Copenhagen. With Second Shift, and I drink at this brewery and bar called Brewski. and they made a passion fruit Berliner, and like at the time, like sitting outside in Sweden, just like looking at all like the history and culture, I'm like, God, this country's so old. It's just like there's just so much like old history there. It's just great and so enjoyable drinking this. It's like it just doesn't get much better than that.
Yeah.
So this beer was just kind of like inspired by that. I just like super crushable. This is, I know like you guys are talking when your interview with Temperance, like there's a beer, like fruity beer that's not fruit forward. This is a fruit beer. Like this beer is meant to highlight. It's just supposed to be like passion fruit juice.
It's
with a
still
little bit of beer.
delicious, though.
It's super delicious. It's super drinkable. It's like it's beer, but it's just like it is fruity. And like I know that I said earlier that like these beers aren't my favorite, but I kind of like when my sweet tooth does kick back in. It's like I want to drink these in the hot outside all summer long. Like
well, and actually, yeah. So before I went to dinner yesterday, I was drinking one of these on my back porch again, and it was just I had it in I had like a frosted mug and everything too. It was
absolutely.
It was amazing. So thank you so much.
Oh, no problem. Super tart.
I think you crushed this. This is awesome.
Super tart, refreshing. Just passion fruit. It's just passion fruit and a golden ale. A little bit of hops. Not much to it.
Yeah. So you're a head brewer at Marz. Are there any other brewers as well? Like any junior brewers that you're teaching as well, or anything?
Yeah.
Like
So there's a guy, Sebastian, who was there before me. He's been brewing for quite some time. Him and his brother are actually working on opening up like a soccer brew pub in Pilsen.
Cool.
Yeah, so like their plans have been kind of delayed too with COVID. They're probably like looking to open up sometime probably late next year. Sure. So there's Sebastian. Then I have another junior brewer, a guy who actually used to make kombucha, who was just interested in brewing, and he just wants to start. So I'm just kind of showing him the ropes and trying to get him brewing. But there's about 3 of us brewing. We have one cellarman, one NA producer who produces all kombucha, CBD beverages. Sorry.
Oh, good.
This carbonation's starting to get to me.
Same.
And then, then we have a QC guy, a quality control guy. So we're a pretty small team. There's like 6 of us down there, but, we're cranking out a lot of beer.
You really are.
It's funny to see, like, coming from second shift, like at one point there was just like me and my buddy Jake, who's, I don't know if you heard Narrow Gauge Brewing, but they make a lot of like hazies in St. Louis and they're kind of popular. It was me and him just like cranking out like almost 2,000 barrels a year pretty much between the two of us. And like that's including like brewing, washing kegs, packaging, like everything. It's pretty much just, and now going to a team that has like 6 people and we're just doing slightly more than that. It's like my back especially is just like, thank God, like so much manual labor. It's just such a relief to have a team that's like capable of like handling things and just like, taking things off my hands that I can focus on other things. Yeah.
I mean, if you were doing, dividing 2,000 barrels up between 2 people, when did you sleep?
Oh man, like it was crazy. Like we would work around the clock, and then like at one point we were mobile canning. So like when you have a mobile canner and you're like loading in a canning line, like taking it out, it's just like a bunch of assembly. We'd be packaging like 300 barrels of beer in a day. So you're talking like a 15-hour canning day. It's like just horrific. So now like it's just a lot better. I mean, I love Second Shift. They're a great brewery. Like support the shit out of them. Their technical ecstasy pilsner is one of the best pilsners I've ever had. It's Czech style pils. It's fantastic. But just having more people on the team, it's just, for me personally, it's really nice.
Absolutely.
So
you mentioned with this beer that you were inspired in, you said Sweden or Copenhagen?
Yeah, Sweden. I was in Copenhagen, but we went over to Sweden.
Gotcha. So you were in Sweden when you did this. Would you say, do you have like, so for a bit of context, I went to the United Kingdom for my graduate degree.
For sure.
In anthropology.
That's awesome. Actually. That's great.
So I got like really into cask beer.
Yeah.
When I was over there, like really into cask beer.
Uh-huh.
Is there a particular style that's not so popular here in the States that you're a big fan of, or anything like that, or?
There was one brewery in St. Louis. Have you heard of Civil Life Brewing?
No, but I'll look them up. I'm taking notes on this.
They don't distribute here, but if I go to St. Louis, well, once it's kind of settled down a little bit, I'll get you some beer. They do only English style beers, and then they make the most fantastic English style beers. And they have a cask engine, so they put beer on cask. I think there's always beer on cask there all the time.
Awesome.
But they do like ESBs. I mean, I love ESBs, and it's kind of a beer that's hard to get right, even though
Yep.
it's relatively simple. But that's a beer style that I like a lot, and I really do miss. I said miss, but miss all these beers. I do miss quite a bit. It's just like not that I never got to experience the traditional cask in an English pub. Like that just sounds dreamy as hell. But like
You got to do it when
this was as close as I was able to get into a brewery that only makes English style ales, and they have a cask engine, and the brewery is like the bar is like all wood. It's like they like replicated an English pub in middle of the States. So like that is a style. I mean, like people do make them, and there's a lot of good examples here. But like, there's something about being in the bar, talking with the bartenders, and like having just that pint in front of you, like in that like I don't even know what the glass is called. It looks like the grenade style glasses or whatever they're called.
Yeah.
But yeah, having one of those full of like
the tankards or whatever.
Yeah. Of like an ESB, it's just like that to me is just like that's a perfect day.
Yeah, you when it's all safe and whatnot to travel again, you absolutely need to get over to the UK to go to some of those pubs, because I worked in a pub to keep the lights on, because London is an incredibly expensive city for a graduate student.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you know, I always had a lot of fun at working these, because the like pub culture, particularly with the staff, was really strong too. So you'd have like your regulars, and everyone would be super happy to see them. And there was this thing called lock-in in the UK, because bars close or pubs close at like 11:30 or something.
Yeah.
But if the door is closed and locked, you can still serve, but just new people can't come in.
That's amazing.
So like you'd always be like, yeah, well, we'll get a couple of our friends to come for lock-in, and then you just stayed there until God knows when.
Till the sun comes up and you're like, oh, the birds are chirping, I should probably go home.
Yeah, but then you also got to take all the casks out from the cellar and leave. But
did you ever see any like nightmare Firkin tappings there?
You know,
I imagine they're all pretty pro.
Yeah, you know, I was always terrified it was going to happen to me.
Of course,
just because I was like, everyone is. It's like, it's gonna happen to me. I'm this idiot the only American working in this pub. Like they're gonna make fun of me. But luckily it never happened. But the cellar flooded pretty regularly, because not because of the beer, but just because of the line cleaning. Because that pub was actually pretty good about cleaning the lines between every new beer that we put on there.
Yeah, that's great.
But if you forgot to, like, someone would just forget to turn off the thing, and there wasn't just good drainage down there, so you'd have to go with a shop vac, and it was horrific. But
speaking of line cleaning, like, we clean our lines all the time in between beers too as well. But it just made me think of this one time I was in Seattle. There's a bar there that every time they change the beer, they cut the line off and put a brand new line on. And I was like, that's just a waste of, you know, material. Like, you're just, you know, polluting the environment.
I was going to say, this was Seattle too.
Yeah. I was like, you can clean the line. Like, it was a beer bar. They had like 100 beers on tap, like really nice beers too. Like all like, you know, rare, like Logsden beers, like beers that you couldn't find and wherever. But I was like, you cut the line off every time? That's just such a waste.
That is a waste.
But it's funny to just think about how extreme people are with beer, and like how far this industry has come, especially in the last like 15 to 20 years. It's just like exponentially grown, like hand over fist.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah. It's really exciting too.
For sure.
I remember when I was over in the UK and I would like talk about this kind of stuff too. Europe is catching up, I think, with the craft beer scene, but it's just not nearly as developed yet, I think. So
yeah, and like my buddy has a friend who lives over in China, and like his friend was like, yeah, you guys should just like come over here and like brew like hazy beers. Like they don't really brew a lot of it, and I think they really like that. I was like, if you pay for me to come over there, I will gladly come over there and brew those beers. I was like, I'm not just going to go over there by myself, like on my own dime. But if someone wanted to pay me and bring me, I was like, no doubt, I would be there in a heartbeat. Let me know.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's some catching up to do, I think. But I don't know. It's nice to have the diversity, and kind of like there's more. I think it's more traditional over in Europe with beer than it is over here. But
absolutely,
it's kind of like a nice balance between the two.
Yeah. All right. Well, I want to be respectful of your time. I know you've given me so much of your day already, and I've had such a wonderful time speaking with you.
Yeah, of course.
But you know, my last kind of question here, I didn't have it in our prepared interview questions, so I'm sorry about that.
That's
Not
okay.
trying to get you off guard here.
No, it's okay.
But so what do you think is going to be your favorite style to brew in the future? Like, is there a style that you haven't done yet that you really want to try, or do you think, uh, something that you've already done pretty regularly and pretty consistently like that will continue to be a favorite of yours? Or, yeah, I guess really I'm just asking, what's your favorite style to brew, and are you excited about brewing anything you don't know already?
I think, I mean, I know quite a little bit about it and quite a bit about it, but I think the style that I'm most excited to be like working on in the future is I'm like starting to get the barrel program back up and running at Marz. So like
Hmm.
a lot of barrel aged saisons and like even some stouts, but more so on the saison side. Like I got some fresh peaches coming in from McClug Farm, so I brewed this saison into our foeder. It's tasting awesome. It's got a couple of it's like a custom blend of yeast from Omega, of course,
Cool.
and it's got some Brett and some sack in it. And it's been fermenting for probably about 4 weeks. It's down to like 1.8 Plato, so it's super dry and
Yeah.
funky. And I think I'm gonna pull that out and put it on some peaches. Let those get a little bit funky for a couple months, and then yeah. So I think the barrel aged saison, that type of thing, grisettes, saisons, that type of area is what I'm looking most forward to getting back into. I did a lot of it at second shift,
Hmm.
and then with Marz, like the transition period was just like a whirlwind for me. Just like taking in everything I can, like getting us on track, and like the way that like it, Marz was running really pretty well, honestly, for the most part. But there was just some things, some little nuances that I had picked up at second shift that just to make everyone's life easier and just
Yep.
to make it, whatever. So getting back into that area and that program I'm really excited about. I'm really hoping that it turns out well and that I can get some really cool, unique barrel aged beers out to Chicago very soon.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, we'll keep an eye out for those, and I can't wait to see them.
Yeah, for sure. I'll have to give you some and maybe talk about them again.
Yeah, no, that would be awesome. Thank you again so much, and I hope
No problem,
everyone
man.
enjoyed listening to us ramble for a little bit and drink some of your beers.
Yeah, for sure.
Um, but yeah, I can't wait to come back down to the tap room when it's all open and everything.
Yeah, definitely. Thanks for talking to me, man. It was great. I really enjoyed this.
All right, thanks so much. Let's do it again sometime.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right.